Thanks for tuning in to the Drive On podcast, where we're focused on giving hope and strength to the entire military community. Whether you're a veteran, active duty, guard, reserve, or a family member, this podcast will share inspirational stories and resources that are useful to you. I'm your host, Scott DeLuzio, and now let's get on with the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Drive On. I'm your host, Scott DeLuzio, and today my guest is Don Culp. Don is has been recently retired from the Army with a diverse military career, including roles as a judge advocate, warrant officer, Apache pilot, and chemical operations specialist. And today we'll discuss his journey, the challenges that he faced, and his foundation, the Braylon Aubrey Foundation, which he started in memory of his daughter to help children with impairing conditions. So before we get into all of that and your background and story, Don, I want to welcome you to the show. I'm really glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to share about her story and kind of how the foundation came about. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Before we get into all that, I mentioned a little bit about your military career. Definitely a diverse career. You kind of dipped your toes in a lot of different areas there. Tell us a little bit about the journey in the military and the different roles that you held in your career. And I do believe this is the first time I've had a warrant officer on the show. If I'm not mistaken, I if I have before and somebody's listening to this, like, hey, I was a warrant officer, I forgot, and I apologize for that. But warrant officers are hard to find, aren't they?
Well, it depends on the branch that you're involved in. Amongst the Army worldwide, you rarely come across. I mean, you'll come across them, but generally in
Yeah,
small amounts. But they've increased the field in which warrant officers are involved in. But of course, with aviation, I mean, that's all year round is nothing but warrant officers. So
sure, sure,
every time you hear somebody come to you and say, "Well, man, warrant officers are so rare," well, I'm thinking, well, not in my world, because there's
sure.
every person to your left and right is a warrant officer in most cases. But yeah, I joined when I was a kid, my stepdad was with the Blue Angels, and Top Gun was my favorite movie, and everything said that I was going to be in the military. So the thing is I was supposed to go into the Navy. Well, when I was 16, taking my ASVAB, well, let me back up. I was in JRTC, and we had a recruiter come to our class, and he was talking to us, and his name was Sergeant First Class Wyatt. And Sergeant First Class Wyatt talked to me about the Army and the benefits of being in the Army, and he talked to me about money. And so a young guy, 17, well, correction, 16 at the time, I was interested in dollar signs. So he goes, if you want to be $30,000 richer, we can make that happen. And so I was like, sign me up. So long story short, I wound up enlisting in the Army in March 13th, 1997. I went to basic between my junior year and senior year. The job that I agreed to enlist as was a chemical operations specialist. So I had known that I wanted to fly. However, again, me being young, me being motivated by money and all that stuff, I wound up getting I fell for it, hook, line, sinker, joined the Army, and became a chemical operations specialist. And I was at MOS for about, I don't know, 8, 9 years. So junior year, senior year, that summer, basic training. Then after I graduated, I went back and did AIT. I finally got the opportunity to be a warrant officer candidate and get the opportunity to be looked at for going to flight school in 2008. All that kind of fell into place for me, and I went to Fort Rucker, now Fort Novosel. Did flight school, and I was basically involved in aviation from 2008 to 2017-ish timeframe. And then after that, I did warrant officer retention for a little bit, telling people the benefits of being a warrant officer, what it's done for me, and the opportunities that could be made available to them, and how it could transition well over to the civilian side with certifications and everything. And then there came a time where I was looking at trying to get back to aviation. I was trying to get back to aviation and everything. And long story short, I wound up having to make a decision, and I wound up sticking around for a little bit longer in the Army and wound up going over to the JAG Corps. I was in the JAG Corps for about 2 years. And I knew that I was up for promotion. So I stuck it out until I made CW4, and I was able to actually pick up CW4 and then retire. I had my packet. I knew my promotion packet was up. I knew I was getting looked at, and I had timed everything to where I was going to pick up CW4 and then be able to retire 2 months later. So that is kind of my story, and that's how it's kind of ended.
Sure, sure. And so this brings us up to about what time frame? When about was this that you retired?
Oh, so I just retired December 31st, 2023.
Okay, so recent, like that,
Yeah,
that's just within the last few months here. So
correct. Yeah,
you're fresh out, you know,
I am.
you're getting out there. So I mentioned in the beginning your daughter, faced some significant medical challenges. Tell us a little bit about that story and how that kind of impacted, uh, obviously your lives and where you saw your career going, kind of during all of this.
So Braylon was actually born right before I left, right before I was supposed to leave for flight school. Braylon was actually born um, just 5 days before I had to report to Warrant Officer Candidate School. And so when you move, it's actually, well, it's a PCS move, the Rucker, because you're generally there for, or Fort Novosel, you're there for anywhere from, it can be, at the time it was 18 months or greater, depending on um, the aircraft you fly, depending on holdovers between phases of training and everything else. But so I left, I had to report the first walk January 22nd, 2009. And then my wife was at home with my in-laws, her parents, because she had a C-section and she had to wait to heal up. She couldn't move down there until she was ready to go. Plus, I was not going to be there because I was in candidate school for the first few weeks of moving down to Rutgers. So I had to load everything up in a U-Haul in the snow. It was one of the rare times that it actually snows here in South Carolina. Go figure. So I had to get everything loaded up. I had my brother and then meet me at the house that we were going to be living in, and I had to report to candidate school the very next morning. And so while at candidate school, I was away 6 months into the whole flight training journey, if you will, flight school journey. 6 months into it, our daughter started displaying issues. Um, and the she would have like minor eye deviations in front of us. So I would come home and I would always hold her, and my wife would hold her too. But she tended to do this maybe more in front of me than others. Her eyes would start to deviate and go to one side versus the other. And I always joked around, and I was like, I guess she's not too fond of me. I guess she doesn't like me very much. That was kind of a running joke, but little did we know that she was actually having minor seizures in front of us.
Oh,
Um, and 6 months into the actual journey, I had come home. My wife had been with her, and um, she wound up. She was lethargic, white and lethargic. She was on the floor. She actually was having a seizure, which required her to go to the hospital. And little did we know that this would start the journey of multiple visits to the hospital, and she would actually require overnight stays. She would require, being life flighted from Alabama to Pensacola, Florida, because in Enterprise, Alabama, they weren't equipped to treat her. And so this continued on for the majority of her time frame, her life. And so my wife was dealing with this and required multiple trips to the hospital. And I eventually deployed after graduating flight school. We moved back from Fort Rucker, Fort Novosel, back to South Carolina. I deployed, and during which time, she was hospitalized two more times. And then she had this great time frame where everything was just fine. She started walking, talking, feeding herself. My wife taught her how to do sign language and everything else. It was this huge, just increase in her abilities. So that being said, about 6 months after we had come back, or I had come back, she ultimately wound up being put to bed and put to sleep one night, and woke up the next morning, and unfortunately she had passed at the age of 3. And so What we found out about her condition as we went through all the hospitalizations, she had a chromosomal deletion, which, in addition to that, she had seizures, and she was just developmentally delayed, like the milestones that normal kids hit between the ages of, you know, from the time that they're born to about 3 years old. She was behind, and so she was getting different types of therapy to help assist with that. We had therapists come to the home. She would go to places off post. That was while we were at Fort Novacell. While deployed, we had therapists come to the house, and my wife would take her to places as well. And my wife would work with her to try to get those skills going. Um, so all of that together, that kind of was how the whole flight school thing, the whole transition to flight school, and then her unfortunate passing, all of that was intertwined, and all of that occurred within that first 3 year time frame within the aviation uh, MOS, if you will.
Right. Um, gosh, I'm thinking about time periods and stuff like that. My first born was born around that same time period, 2009, and I was deployed to Afghanistan a couple months after he was born, and I know just for me, like I felt like I barely knew anything about being a father when I got back uh, from my deployment, and my wife was over there. She's slinging diapers and she's making the baby food, and she's got everything kind of handled and everything. I felt like I lost out on a such a significant chunk of his life, at that point, and it was a significant chunk because he was only 2 months old or so when I left. Um, but I think about it now, hearing your story, um, and you said there was a deployment in there for you. I don't know time period wise, but when you think about the entirety of her life, that's a much more significant percentage. My son's 14 to almost 15 now, um, and gosh, my heart just breaks hearing this story, that you and your family had to go through, with all of this. Especially, okay, fine. There's some medical issues. You take her to the hospital and get things kind of straightened out. And there's a period of time when things seem like they're going okay. Maybe not perfect, but they're okay. And and then this kind of hits you, where she goes to bed one night and doesn't wake up the next morning, and that, like, yeah, my heart breaks. I'm truly sorry that you and your family had to go through this, but through all of this, you started the Braylon Aubrey Foundation, right? Tell us about that foundation and what its mission is and how it's out there to help other folks.
So you mentioned time frames, and so literally the transition to Rucker happened again 2009. She was born in 2009. I deployed 11 to 12, and when I came back, it was 6 months after the fact when she passed. So it was literally those 3 years. Um, because of the issues, first off, the reason I started the foundation, I was doing my training, I was away, and there were when she started walking, I saw that in the form of a video that my wife sent to me, and there were things that I missed that I we have other children, and they're like my oldest is getting ready to be 23. Since Braylon's passed, we've had two other children, so we have a 9 year old, and then we've got a 5 year old. My Braylon would be 15 right now, and
Mm.
so she would be like right in the middle, as far as all of our kids. But the things that I've experienced with the other kids, I didn't experience with her, and there was there was kind of a wedge. You can call it self-created. I well, I don't know if that's the right term to use, but with the typical bond that I had with my other kids, I didn't have with her. She very
Mm.
much leaned to my wife. Her and my wife had a very strong bond, and my wife was there and did exactly everything that she could to the best of her ability with treating Braylon's conditions.
Sure.
Um, So in a sense, because of uh, not having those things and her life being cut short, I personally felt the need to do something. Um, and so um, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I did want to do something. So what wound up happening was is I created the foundation, and through the foundation, I was originally going to focus on trying to help children with impairing conditions specific to the chromosomal deletion that my daughter had. The problem with that is it's so rare. If you're going to make an impact, it just wouldn't be any impact is a good impact if you can make a difference in somebody's life over some or no one's, but I wanted to make a bigger impact. So I decided to broaden the scope of the actual foundation to any child with impairing conditions. And the whole purpose is to do what we can to help them in their pursuit for a better quality of life, whether it's resources for them, whether advocating for them, which the advocating part still working on. There's been some advocating done for special programs that we know of that we experienced ourselves through the military. One of them being actual EFNP. Um, but that being said, uh, that is our main mission: is to advocate and help special needs children uh, have a better quality of life. So the foundation was actually started in 2018.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask when about that foundation came to be. Was it, right after, or was this something, a few years down the line? So it seems like, yeah, a few years down the line. And now you talked about like programs through the military. And obviously you want to advocate for those types of things to be available. But there are some programs that already exist. I think you mentioned one there, so there's at least that program. For me, I think part of it would be, um, uh, in like an awareness campaign to make sure that people who have children with these types of disabilities, that they know that programs like this exist, because sometimes there's just so many out there, you can't possibly know all of the programs, and oftentimes they go underutilized because while they exist, people may not know that they exist. Is that kind of an issue that you see with some folks?
I, I think there's, if you did a research for different nonprofits, there's a plethora of them out there, and
Mhm.
it's you'll hear this used in different ways, but some people are told life's about what you know, not who you know, and then in other cases you'll hear about life's about who you know, not what you know. Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both, but in this case, when people are in a certain situation and they need help, it's more about what you know. People can feel very overwhelmed, especially in a situation unfamiliar to them, especially in an unfamiliar location. And
Mhm.
like for us, we were Enterprise, Alabama, when we're from South Carolina, and the only people that I knew were the people that I was in training with, and my wife knew a couple of those guys' wives or what have you. Um, but we didn't know resources that were available to us. We kind of got a crash course in those things,
Mhm.
and there were hiccups. The process wasn't perfect, but there was a lot of things that were given to us that in um, that time frame, were very beneficial. So I'm a strong advocate for that program. Again, it wasn't always perfect, but it was definitely better than nothing. And we had people trying to put us in the right direction. So,
Right. Could you describe that program? Like, what was it that was involved that was beneficial to you?
well, I mean, there was like a direct. I don't want to use the word liaison, but a coordinator, and that person basically directed us to different areas for care.
Okay.
Um, and so, luckily, my wife as well, she was also doing research as far as finding providers and stuff like that to get my daughter's care. So between that program and my wife doing her due diligence, I mean, everything just kind of benefited. Braylon, and things just kind of fell in line. But basically, what it is it's a program where you get a specific coordinator, and they kind of assess your needs and they align you with the necessary programs that the military offers. So, for example, whenever we first transitioned down to Fort Rucker, Fort Novacell, um, we were living off post. Well,
Mhm.
we were told that if because we lived off post, Braylon didn't qualify for certain programs. For example, a therapist coming into our home and working with her. Well, so we were like, well, how do we make that happen? Well, you move on post. So we talked to the person that we were renting our house from about moving on post, and we moved on post. I mean, and then we started getting the necessary resources to have therapists come in the house to kind of double tap the therapy that Braylon was receiving. She had resources off post within the vicinity of I forget the name of the town. Fort Rucker, Fort Novacell is surrounded by three towns: Daleville, Enterprise, and then one other town, and I can't remember the name. Ozark, Alabama. And so, anyway, she would attend Sumlar therapy off post in Ozark, and then she would get in house therapy. And that was all because of somebody telling us from the program uh, that this resource existed if you moved on post. So basically, EFMP, they just take your need, they assess your need, and then they find the necessary specialists and programs that would benefit you in your dependence time of need.
And it's great that you had somebody like that to advocate for you, or not necessarily advocate, but kind of push you in the right direction, and allow you to take advantage of the services that were available to you. Because if you didn't have that, it would just be reliant on whatever research you happen to do and happen to come across, and that you may not have come across that particular stipulation that said, well, you can get this type of therapy if you live on post, but not if you live off post, type of thing. And then that's just one less thing that your family would be able to benefit from. And so, yeah, certainly for folks out there who are dealing with any sort of issues like this, get involved with that, get that person to uh, help facilitate the whole process for you, make you aware of some of the things that are relevant to you. Because I know, um, and I don't know every single situation, like what programs are presented to you, but I know the way a lot of times the way the military presents programs that are available to people. I know before we deployed, and after we came back home, and as you're transitioning out of active duty and everything, like the uh, the way the military does it, it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose, where you're getting so many programs and so many things just thrown at you, and a lot of which you don't need. You're not, they're not relevant to you, but you're getting all this information. There may be one or two things that maybe you do want to use or you do need to use, but they kind of get lost in the shuffle with all the other noise that goes on there. So having someone who can look at your individual case, your family's individual situation, and say, this is what you need, this is how you go about getting access to it, and all the steps that are required. That to me sounds like a heck of a lot better than trying to figure it all out on your own, especially when you're dealing with a child who has serious medical issues too. Definitely having that support is got to be a blessing, right?
It was. I mean, and anybody that's got a child with a special need or that an impairing condition, that program is definitely beneficial. And again, it wasn't perfect. I don't know anything that is a perfect, seamless process. When you're overwhelmed, though, it is good to have a program. It's good to have an advocate there for you and to make you aware of things that you don't know.
Mhm.
So for anybody in a situation like that, um, as parents, when you see your kid in a situation where they're hurting or they've got some sort of issue and you don't really know how to deal with it, you don't understand it, that's overwhelming in itself. Plus, the way the Army presents the information to you, like you said, drink. That's I think that's with anything that the Army does. They try to present to you all this information so fast, quick, fast, in a hurry. You have no time to digest, process it, and it's very much like drinking from a fire hose. Not to
Yeah.
mention the overwhelming circumstances that you're already facing as it is. So,
Right, right, and I remember getting these flyers and brochures and things like that for all these different programs, and I had a stack of stuff. It was like it was it was huge. It was just a huge stack of papers. It's like, I'm never gonna go through all these things. Like, even if the thing that I need is somewhere in the middle of that, I'm not gonna find it. They checked the box though. They gave me the information.
that's right.
Like that's one thing the army, like you said, does really well is they'll give you the information, but it comes quick, fast, in a hurry, and it's not always presented in the best way. So, and especially people who are new to an area like you were down there in Alabama, and you're not familiar with the resources that might be available in the community or even on base or whatever like that there's that's not really the best situation to be in. So now you got a ton of research to do because you can't even rely on, oh, I know, I had a neighbor 5 years ago who told me about this place that they went to and with their kid, and like, you can't rely on any of that kind of information because you don't have any of it. So yeah, having that advocate, to I keep saying advocate, but the person who's there to help guide you through that journey is definitely beneficial. Um, Now you talked about with your foundation, um, the types of stuff that you guys do. Um, Are there specific, initiatives that you do, take part in, to help either in the community or help with individuals? How does that all work?
So the one of the main goals I briefly touched on what our initial scope was of the foundation, what the initial objective was going to be, help those that have the same condition as Braylon. But that wouldn't have been impactful, as impactful as I would have liked to have been. So we
Sure.
broadened the scope. So one of the first goals was going to be to give back to all the entities that played a role in my daughter's care, every place, because I felt like, whereas again, not everything's perfect. We had certain issues with certain things because it was our child. Our child was being treated and what have you. But I felt it was very important to give back because I know that the overall mission and the overall impact that these places have on families and children is a pretty big deal. So the first goal was to give back to those entities. What I didn't anticipate is being able to do that within the first 2 years. And I don't mean just by a minor amount, but we were able to specifically, I mean, uh, the very first thing we did, the very first thing we did was we participated in the University of Pennsylvania's ASPE program, where they are actually doing an actual study on this particular issue, the deletion, focusing in on the Nerexin 1 gene, uh, lack thereof. And we participated in a study to help them advance their specific study to help further understand the impact of this. So, for example, I actually have the deletion myself. I passed it to her. Now, what the way she showed the deletion and the effects that it had on her, it, it doesn't have those effects on me. So it's very possible to be a carrier versus being affected by it. So it is a hereditary thing. So the University of Pennsylvania's Perelman Medical School, they're the ones that are conducting the research behind this. So the very first thing we did was get involved in that.
Mm.
So then, as soon as we started conducting our annual fundraising activities, we started giving back to all the entities. So the very first place that we gave back to was we gave back to the Lexington One school district. We specifically said we wanted to go to their special needs program, and so their special needs program, Braylon was a part of that. That was the additional therapy, part of the additional therapy that she got when we came back after flight school. I was deployed. My wife was able to get that set up, but what that did was is they take kids that are pre-K aged, and it's a program that's based it's designed to work with them to help bring them online so that they're ready to go by the time they reach kindergarten. So we purchased several items that they needed, that they specifically asked for, and they help within their one specific geographical area. They help um, in 2020, they had about 150 special needs uh, pre-K age children. So that was the first area that um, we focused on, and then the second year that we focused on, uh, we gave back to the Studer Family Children's Hospital, which is where Braylon was when she got life flighted from Fort Rucker to Pensacola, Florida. We gave back to Sumar Children's Therapy by buying equipment that they needed. We purchased wish list items for Prisma Children's Hospital, which when I was deployed, she was hospitalized and here for one. She was hospitalized twice. So one time was, I think, for a week. The second time was for almost 9 days, I believe. Um, and then we made actual monetary donation to the Morris Children's Hospital. Um, 2022, 2023 timeframe, we started looking at the development of a special needs playground. And we also we purchased wish list items at the end of 2023 for the Sean Jenkins Children's Hospital in Charleston, their pediatric intensive care unit, because they have newborns there that have conditions and there's items that they needed. So we purchased those items. Our main focus now, we've given to all these entities. I'm looking further into advocacy. This whole nonprofit has been a learning process. We don't have a company that set it up for us. It was a stat. I set it up. Um, every step, I'm learning as I go. So the whole idea is to just be impactful. So essentially, the focus, I told you when I was a kid, all I ever wanted to do was fly. I told you the reason that I started the foundation was just because of a sense of not being there when my daughter needed me. Now I was doing other things, but that's what drives this. So
Mhm.
the effort that I was putting into flying, um, I have now taken and put towards this foundation. And so I get asked, when I'm looked at as far as what the focus of the foundation is, I get looked at and I'm asked, so what are you going to do? What's next? Well, I've given back to these entities. We've done all the stuff, which I wasn't expecting to do as fast, and I'm thankful for that. So what's next? So I go from this to, oh, well, let's try to build a $1.7 million playground. And while we're at it, let's try to, with everything else that we have going on, let's try to do all this fundraising in the background too. So as of right now in the 2024 timeframe, that has been our focus. I've toured the facility where they build the playground. The company that builds this playground have built other ones around South Carolina that get good use. They do a good job. They invited me to come out to their plant. We had a paraplegic assess every aspect, every piece of equipment, meaning she actually gets on and utilizes what she can to play on the playground to see if it actually truly is a special needs um, and all inclusive playground. And it's been designed to do just that. It's a 15,000 square foot playground with tons of shade. So kids that can't control or regulate their body temperature have a place to remain cool. It has transition points for kids that are in wheelchairs to where they can be out, go play on the equipment, come down, and then have another transition point where their caregiver can place them back in the wheelchair and they can move to another area on the playground itself. So um, I am still working the advocacy part. I'm still learning more about that. I'm finding out more about programs. The University of Pennsylvania, I have an ongoing relationship with them. They've promoted our 5K every year from Pennsylvania, and they're in the process of creating a foundation they're in the process of creating a foundation that's specific to their program. And they've consulted with me and gotten feedback with me with the things that I've done and basically spoke to me and just asked for my involvement with the creation of this board, this foundation from their standpoint, which I consider a university talking to me, a little guy like me, about something like that. I think um, that's a testament to how effective we've been, and I think it's important to make that happen. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Well, that's actually, like you said, I was thinking that myself. It's like you got this big university with all uh, these smart people walking around there, and they're asking you for your input. That's got to feel pretty good. Like you've done something right with all the things that you're doing. Obviously, because otherwise, if you completely botched it, let's put it this way, they're not reaching out to you to ask you for your help, right? And so you did something right, and I think that's a testament to all the hard work and the dedication that you've put in. You and your family. I'm sure there's other people involved as well, but there's uh, a lot of work that goes into everything that you're doing, um, and I guess knowing that there are people out there who care enough to put this much effort into this type of, whether it's advocacy work or uh, who just think to make a playground where their kids can go out and play on this playground, where other playgrounds they may not be able to. Um, like somebody else is out there who cares about this. Like that is having an impact, whether you know it or not. Like there are people out there who are they're better off now because there are things like this, in the works and the type of work that you're doing. One thing that struck me as you were talking, and I don't know if this thought had occurred to you or if it's something that's on the radar for the future, maybe a not right now kind of thing, but maybe somewhere down the line. But um, there and this may not be possible. There may be legal reasons why this is not possible, but the thought came across that there are families like yours who have to move their kid from maybe a rural area to someplace else, like you did with yours when she went to Pensacola. Um, and I can't imagine that that kind of flight was cheap to do, right? And there's probably some families out there who are like, I don't know how we're gonna be able to figure that out. Maybe insurance, maybe it covers it, maybe it doesn't cover it, in certain circumstances, but, um, part of your background is aviation and flying, and that was something that you've always wanted to do. In back of my head, I was like, "Wow, that seems like that could be a fit, is maybe helping some of these families get from A to B." And again, there may be some reasons why, you may have to have, like, medical staff and all that kinda stuff where why that may not be practical, but, it's just one of those things that I was like, "Hey, if that could be a good fit down the line too." But, um, there may be a lot more work as far as the advocacy and other things that you have going on that maybe that's not in the cards for you, and, that may not be something that you're up for, but, um, I was just thinking, how can we impact as many people as possible, and that seemed like it could have an impact as well, but, um, but but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's funny that you mentioned that because one of the things, because of how closely the flying aspect and um, my daughter's life, like the time that I actually started flying, how they're intertwined, the time frames and everything. I've actually looked at trying to do that because
Okay.
I wanted to try to bridge the two together. And one of the things that my family and I kind of came up with just by talking, just having a mere discussion, the idea kind of just came, and it is a process to make happen. But in the future, I'd like to be able to fly kids around that have an impairing condition, but they've never experienced flight, just to give them that that experience. Braylon was always happy despite her circumstances. Braylon smiled a whole bunch. She was happy, and she was just a happy child, even amongst her condition and her circumstances. And so, um, seeing the happiness on another child, if you can give them that experience, that's kind of a big deal. And I
Sure.
would like to be able to fly them around just Columbia, because here you take off from Columbia, you've got once you hit 1,000 feet, I mean, you got Williams Brice Stadium here, you got downtown Columbia right here, and then you got Lake Murray over here, and it's quite a view. And you do a 10, 15 minute flight and come back around and land, I think that would just be a very impactful moment for kids. The other
Sure.
half of that is we have already wanted there's been talk, and I don't know what this looks like yet, but it's there, is bridge the gap. You know, if there's people who can't afford a flight to go see a therapist somewhere in another state or somewhere further along the state, we bridge that gap. I know that there's I know that there's another entity out there somewhere in the country that does something similar to that, but they're not local to here.
Sure.
Um, and and I don't know what their overall mission looks like, but that's something that I want to do too. Um, and so I hope that with when the time presents itself, that we're able to do something like that. I don't know what the insurance looks like. I don't know. I don't know what any of it is, but it's an idea there. But you know, at one point,
Right.
this foundation, what's turned into this foundation, was also an idea too. And this
Sure.
started because I got on Facebook and started typing random memories about my daughter, things that I remembered from my
Mhm.
standpoint. And my family didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't honestly know what I was doing either. I just wanted to do something, but I didn't know what that looked like. And then finally, it just kind of all came together to what it is now. So,
Yeah, and I think with anything, like, all these ideas have to start off as an idea, and someone saying, "You know what? That's just crazy enough, it might work," you know? And then you push it forward and you advance, slowly, right? You can't bite off a too big of a piece at once. You're gonna feel like you're drowning. And when um, when you have these types of ideas, you know, take it piece by piece. There's going to be some um, unknowns, right? You said things like insurance or other unknown, maybe it's some licensing or whatever that needs to happen that are unknown at this point. Well, okay, well you're going to have some research. You're going to have to figure some of that stuff out, but take it one day at a time, just like everything else. And I think um, the efforts that you're going through um, to help out other people, I think are inspiring. There are people out there who suffer a loss, like the loss of your daughter, and it it almost paralyzes them where they can't move on. And I don't mean move on as in a just forget it and that type of thing. That's not what I'm saying. It's just you know continuing to bring positivity into the world. And that's exactly what you're doing is you're helping other people who were in your shoes, who are in the shoes that you were in, I should say. And uh, you know from your experience just how difficult it is to go through the types of things that you had to go through. And just like that person who was able to help coordinate things on your end and make things just a little bit easier, not to say that everything was easy, but they made it a little bit easier. um, you're making it a little bit easier for other folks as well, whether it's through donations to some of these organizations that helped you and your family out along the way. um, that does help other families, whether they know it or not. There's that help there because maybe there's new equipment or there's additional staff or whatever that could be utilized through whatever programs that they offer, and they may not have had that had it not been for the work that you're doing. And so there's some positivity there. And I think that's inspiring. Honestly, I feel like more people can really learn from what you're telling us here and what your story is, um, and learn from that and use negative events or setbacks in their lives as fuel for something positive going forward. And hopefully you have it in you to continue doing this type of work because it is significant and it is helping a lot of people. And so that is something that you should be proud of. Give yourself um, the credit where it's due. For that type of stuff, right? Um, Before we wrap up this episode, I know there's probably some listeners who've heard your story here, heard about your daughter and the type of work that you're doing now. They probably want to get involved somehow. And I know, like like any nonprofit, donations are are certainly always welcome. What Where can people go to find out more information about the foundation and make a donation, or if you need volunteers or whatever it is that you guys are looking for, where can people go to find out more information?
Okay, so we have our website at www.thebraylonaubreyfoundation.org. That specific website has our mission statement. It has what we're looking for. It has all the information regarding our annual 5K. It has information regarding the ongoing initiative to build this playground. And everything that we've done, everything that we look to do, everything about us is there. We also have our Facebook page. People can follow and stay updated with ongoing efforts and things that we're doing on the day-to-day basis. We also are on LinkedIn as well. So, and if anybody has any questions, they can also email us at Braylon Aubrey Foundation at gmail.com.
Excellent. Well, I'll have links to your website, social media, and all that in the show notes so that folks can reach out and get in touch or make a donation or participate in the 5K. The 5K coming up anytime soon? Do you have it at a certain time of year every year?
Yeah, so we've actually this year we actually have our own personalized route this year. First time we were using somebody else's course for the prior years, and so it's specifically tailored to us. It is by another special needs playground that it's called Leo's Landing. That was actually built by the same company that we're trying to get to build ours. But it is on September 28th and it is going to be the race starts at 8:30. We also have for folks that are geographically restricted. Well, because of technology, you don't have to be geographically restricted. We do offer a virtual option as well. The only thing that we ask is if you decide to register for the run, which you can do so at our website on the 5K link. But just get your registration in early so that we can send you all of your Braylon Aubrey Foundation 5K swag early enough, and we can make sure that you get stuff because orders have to be in by a certain time frame for shirts, just to make sure that we get them all on time.
Sure. Well, again, I'll have links to all of that in the show notes, and hopefully this episode will be out in enough time that folks can check it out and get involved in the 5K this year. If not, they can still make donations and do all of that kind of stuff through your website. So again, check out the show notes for all of that information. Don, uh, really, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for uh, coming on and being open and vulnerable about the issues that your family went through and how you guys navigated some of those challenges, and additionally how you are making the best of a bad situation going forward. And I think uh, you guys are definitely an inspiration to many people out there who might be in a similar situation, and they need that need that boost of hope and positivity in their lives. So thank you, and continue doing what you're doing. I thank you for the work that you guys are putting in. It really is impacting some folks out there. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Drive On podcast. If you want to support the show, please check out Scott's book, Surviving Son, on Amazon. All of the sales from that book go directly back into this podcast and work to help veterans in need. You can also follow the Drive On podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts.